Hey there, welcome to SaaS Unbound, brought to you by saasgroup. I'm your host, Anna Nadeina, and this is the show where we speak with inspiring founders and experts to get a scoop on how they made their business a success. And today with me is Jana Schellong, who is a co-founder of Beams. And Beams' core product is a Mac menu bar app, which sits very conveniently on top of my screen too. So proud owner. But it's also a meta layer of SaaS products, and that's a big vision for it. And we're here today to talk about it and the way Jana and her co-founder are planning to grow the product. Welcome, Jana. It's great to have you here.
Thank you so much, Anna. It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Like I said, I'm a proud owner or user, customer, I don't know how to call myself, of Beams. So thank you for doing that. It's a great little thing that really helps me to navigate through my working day. So, and your background, let's touch upon that first. Your background is in product management, right?
That's correct. Yeah, thanks for the feedback, first of all. Like, positive user feedback is the most important thing for us, or which makes us most happy. So I'm really happy to hear that. And that's correct. So my background is product management. I've worked for the past 6 years before I started Beams in different product management roles, mainly in early stage tech startups, which I think was actually a really good preparation to become an entrepreneur now or build my own company.
All right. So, how did this idea come to you? I know that one of your previous projects was in with Volkswagen, right? It was a website for used cars, right?
That's correct.
So,
Yeah, that's true. That's
going
one of the startups I was working at, a used car
right. So,
platform.
going from that to future of work, how did you do that?
Yeah, maybe I can give one sentence also about my co-founder. Her name is Mihri, and she's a software developer. So we are a tech and product co-founding team. And yeah, why are we working on what we're working on? First of all, before we started Beams, we were actually really enjoying our jobs. As a developer and a PM, we liked what we were working on, and that's why for me it was always so interesting to hear so many people around me that were frustrated with their jobs, stressed out. And something I observed on myself and many other people is that we're using more and more tools at work and being distracted and switching from one thing to the other so many times during the day is something that that annoyed me, that frustrated me, and I felt like nearly everyone I talked to about this problem agreed with me and said I need a solution for this as well. So really this the fact that we really believe also that, or we believe in the good of software, and that we can use software really to help us have better work days, is one of these big drivers or inner motivations for us, building good software that helps us work better or healthier.
Okay, so you knew each other before. You knew how you both work and if it's going to be comfortable to become co-founders.
We knew each other before. Actually, we were introduced by a common friend. He's also a developer. He was a former colleague of mine, my technical counterpart at a role I was working in, and he's a really good friend of Mihri. And he introduced us. He said, "You're both very entrepreneurial, always talking about your side projects. Maybe you want to do something together." That's how we met, and we stayed in touch. But we've never worked together before. So in the beginning, when we both said, hey, now it's a good time in both of our lives to quit our jobs and try it out, we really took some time to validate that we want to and can actually work together, that we find a topic we want to work on together. And that was actually a good way of handling it.
Okay, that's pretty cool. But you started very recently, I mean, in business terms, right? 2021 is the year when you launched. So what did you launch with? Was it an MVP? Was it kind of a working prototype? Was it just an idea?
Yeah, maybe the question is back to you what launch actually means, right? I think the different people understand different things,
Yeah.
what a launch actually means. we believe that we are launching and have been launching all the time, right? The very first version of a first prototype we launched after working it for a week or two, to the first, 5 or 10 alpha users that we were regularly speaking with. And from there, we iterated it continuously. We are in a closed beta. So for some people, we might not have launched publicly yet. Though in December of last year, there was a product hunt launch. So again, another type of launch where we also opened the waitlist for a couple of days. So we right now have around 700 users who provide us with regular feedback, and we're using that feedback to develop the product further. We knew Product Hunt since many years, and we also knew that we are going to launch there at some point, because our target group, it's actually product team members, tech team members, and product enthusiasts. They are Product Hunt users, so we always knew that we would launch there. But yeah, a lot of new users discovered us from there. But there was no particular person who reached out to us and said, you should launch it. We knew that from the beginning.
Oh, right. So what was the initial idea behind Beams, right? So you call it a meta layer of SaaS products, right? So what does it mean?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So the initial idea, we actually really started with the problem definition, right? Or the problem space where we wanted to find a solution for. And I'm saying that because, this problem is something that's clear to everyone. The solution to it is not so clear, though. And the product you can use now, and also this, how we phrase it as the SaaS meta layer, is something that evolved over time. But the idea behind that is, maybe I can say one more sentence about this problem again, or what we learned about this problem is that there are so many different factors that play into it. It starts with that an average company nowadays uses over 110 different SaaS tools, which I think is a crazy number. And we also probably all know that from our typical work days, how many tools we use and how much we switch in between them. In fact, there's a recent study, Harvard Business Review, that said that we switch between apps and Windows 1,200 times a day, which is twice every minute, actually, or every working minute. And it's not a big surprise because most of these tools we are using are also designed in a way to grab our attention, right? Designed in a way to distract, which makes us jumping back and forth. But there are also company cultures that expect us to be always available and immediately responsive. We also identified, though, that there are a lot of personality traits that make some people, be easier distracted than others. There's some people that plan their days more ahead or more in advance, whereas others are a bit more reactive. Then again, there are people that feel this FOMO a bit stronger than others. This FOMO when some messages are piling up. So all of these factors play into this problem, and that's also why we believe the solution to it needs to be highly personalized. There is no one-size-fits-all solution to this problem, and therefore our hypothesis for the solution is what we call now a software as a service meta layer, and it means that we integrate the different work tools a user is already using, and we put ourselves on top as a software layer on top of those tools. So we integrate tools, we don't replace any of those. And we started with a calendar integration simply because it's a tool everyone is using throughout the day. And the second integration we implemented is a Slack integration because our target group told us it's the most distracting tool of all. And that's what we started with. And then going forward, there can be further integrations of communication and collaboration tools. That's where this name of meta layer is coming from.
That's pretty cool. No, I love that. First of all, I think the more integrations, the better, and it's a great trend. No one, like you said, wants to jump from one thing to another. We want to see everything in one place, and for it to be mindful and not totally disrupting our working day. So that's amazing. And I have to give you one other comment about design. Love the design. And the first time I got beams, everyone was asking, like, what's that on top of your screen? Like, what? And yeah, I hooked a couple of more people on beams now. But yeah, where did the design come from? Like, how did you navigate this? You're from product management, and then your co-founder is tech. Do you have somebody doing the design, or is it just you two?
Yes, we have someone doing the design. It's an amazing designer, a friend and former colleague of Mihri, and we're super glad to be working with her. She's based in Istanbul, actually, so we're working with her remotely. She's a freelancer, and it's really great that she's helping us out there. And or let's say together with her, we have defined what our design principles are, or also how we want to design the product. And I'm really glad that you're mentioning it, because it's really core to our product, and to how we differentiate it also from other tools in this space. So when I talk about the differentiation, right, on the one hand, there's this personalization approach that I mentioned, that through these different integrations as this meta layer, we can learn holistically about a user's work context and therefore be very personalized. And the other aspect, which really sets us apart from most of the other, let's call them productivity tools that you see in the market, is how we understand what productivity actually means. We want to promote a more progressive or modern understanding of productivity. For us, it doesn't mean working even faster and more and hustling more. For us, it's about working more, let's call it mindfully, or with more intention, one thing after the other. And this mindful aspect, we also want to underline in the way how we design the product. And you already mentioned that our first product is a Mac menu bar app that sits on top of the screen. And that's actually a really nice representation of what we mean with mindful design. Our users tell us, given that it's sitting up there, it always shows me, the one thing to focus on. It shows me when my next meeting is starting, how many minutes more until it starts, or when I'm in one, for how much longer it's going. It's a small detail, but it already gives them a bit of a feeling of control. So they tell us, I only need to glance to the top of the screen and know exactly where I am in my day and what's going on. And that already, gives me some grounding. And that's exactly the feeling that we want to create in our user, that they feel like they're on top of their workday. So these mindful design principles, ensuring that we're designing it in an unintrusive way, that the product is always there when needed, but that it doesn't push itself to the foreground.
Right. Okay, that's amazing. All right. Well, since you started talking about launch or launches that you did, right? And I wanted to respond to that first, but let's get back to it anyway. So what did you mean by this first launch? Something that you showed after a week of working on Beam. So what did you start with? What was your prototype? What was the first version of the product, and how did you go from there?
Yeah, I can share also how we actually started with this, right? When we decided this is a problem space we want to tackle. So we had our 10 alpha users, let's call them like that, people that we knew or didn't know that were part of our target group, so product and tech team members, developers, designers, PMs. And those were volunteering and talking to us on a regular basis. So every week or every second week, we had a 30-minute call with them, where in the beginning, we really wanted to understand, how do you work? Which tools are you using? What is distracting you? What are challenges you're facing currently? And based on that, we created several hypotheses and concepts for solutions, actually, which we then also tested. And it started from even some scribbles on papers to click dummies, and then to first versions of a little product. And the very first one is, first hypothesis of what the solution could look like is also not at all what it is right now. So we really learned and iterated along the way. But the first, let's call it prototype that was actually being used was already this menu bar idea that would always show the current or upcoming meeting up there. So it started with a calendar integration, and then from there we really iterated it in showing the daily overview up there, being able to join calls with shortcuts or simple clicks, being guided through the day. And then we put much more emphasis on what we now call our focus mode. So when you're in between meetings, we recommend you to go into this mode where we snooze notifications during the day. And it's a simple timer. Some people might know the Pomodoro technique. That's the idea that you can concentrate for 25 minutes, then take a short 5-minute break and do this rhythm for 3 or 4 times, and then followed by a longer break. And we enable this technique also through our product to really remind the person to take breaks, be focused, and then we worked on Slack integrations, which means that when you are in such a mode, it's reflected in your Slack status. So your colleagues know when you're available and when you're not. That was based on another learning or insight that focus or good work is not just an individual topic. It's not just about you, but really about how you collaborate with your team members. If they don't respect your focus time or they don't know that you're currently busy, it's like any message is already dragging you out. Any quick question like, do you have a minute, is actually already distracting you, right? So there we are trying to iterate even further, but to answer your question, we started with this simple menu bar calendar feature.
I love how meticulous you are. I mean, it shows that you're coming from product management. You know all the steps and like the hypothesis and all that. And that's beautiful. Not a lot of founders do that, right? A lot of them think that you have to come out with a working product, and especially when you talk to customers. So that is one thing that is also kind of a problem for first-time founders, especially. You said you had 10 alpha users, right? You already talked with them from the very beginning. You gathered feedback. So how do you find these people? How do you make sure that you go back to them to ask for that feedback, that you're not just nagging them every day, but you meticulously collect the feedback that will eventually be something that you would use for a real product?
Mm-hmm. So what we did in the beginning, and not just with the first 10 users, but actually the first 300 users, is that we onboarded them to the product in a quick onboarding call. So we really talked to the person individually. This was, again, actually a great opportunity for user research, really understanding how they work. And we actually asked them to, before they download the product, to join our Slack channel, our Slack community. And from there, they were able to download the product. So we already ensured that these early users who we selected from our waitlist based on whether they fit into our target group, we made sure that they are in our community so that we can share our product updates with them, but more importantly, get their real-time feedback, involve them in our product decisions, and just really make sure that we're close to where they are. So that's maybe a little hack that we introduced there, the Slack community, and actually making sure everybody should join it before they can use the product. Now it's optional. So now also our onboarding is not manual anymore. It's a self-onboarding with the option to join that Slack community if they want to shape the direction of the product.
All right, that's very interesting. But it's also one thing to get people to join Slack, but it's a different task to get them to talk to you. So how did you do that? How did you approach them? Was there anything that you offered?
Yeah, I'm always surprised actually how much people are willing to give if they feel like you're solving a problem for them. And I'm also surprised how people like to be involved in being part of creating such a product together. And especially from our very, very early users, let's say the first 30 to 50, in the beginning, they gave us so much of their time. We didn't pay them anything. they said, being part of this community and seeing how the product shapes, seeing how my feedback is shaping the direction and actually the feature set is something they enjoyed. So yeah, that was great to see. And it obviously started with people we know, but very quickly we also always wanted to ensure that's people that we didn't know, that we haven't spoken to. So we leveraged quite a few product and tech communities where we were involved in already. We wanted to also share our learnings along the way publicly. So we were writing blogs and on LinkedIn and Twitter of what we're learning along the way, how we're building it. So a lot of the things I just described, we shared publicly. This like build in public approach, I think, is what got some people excited as well. But in general, for me, the learning was, we're giving them a product for free, right? That's also already something that is something we give back. When people are excited about what you're building, you don't even have to pay for it in many times.
Right. Okay. Thank you. So let's talk a little bit about customer acquisition, right? You went from 10 alpha testers to 700, right? That's a pretty big growth for such a young product. So how did you do that apart from Product Hunt and your own pool of people that you approached?
Mm-hmm. So we have 700 people who downloaded the product. There are 3,000 more on our wait list. That's also an approach that we decided on purpose to not open up the product right away, especially because we were in this iterative approach. We really wanted to ensure that we have the right people using our product in the beginning. So once you sign up to our waitlist, there's a little survey that follows so that we can understand who you are, what your background is, what you're trying to get out of the product. And then we make sure we invite the ones that would actually benefit from it. But when it comes to distribution, acquisition, we're following a approach where we really believe the product itself is the driver for acquiring, for retaining users, and actually for growth. So this product-led growth approach. That means that we are always thinking about how can we build the product in a way that it exposes itself to other people. So just because you are using it, you said some people ask you, what's this little thing on top of your screen? If you're using our Slack integration, then people will also, just because you're using it, see that because we have this little tag via use Beam in your Slack status. And we're thinking about further ways of how you actually not just invite people or refer it, but how just because you're using it, other people will use it as well. That could be going into shared focus sessions. You go into a team focus session with the rest of your team. You align schedules across team members for focus and collaboration times. These are some of the ideas we are thinking about here. So that where right now it's a product for individuals, there will be an additional value once even one more colleague of yours starts using it as well. And then we are thinking about how can we make it even more valuable once more team members start using it, or even the whole team is using it. There could be an additional value add for the team or even the team lead for aggregated insights into, for example, how valuable meetings are, how much time the team is spending on meetings versus focus time, whether they're focusing or how much time is spent on focusing on which OKR. Those are just some ideas we're playing with in the future. But what I want to underline is that the product itself will drive growth in the beginning, at least. Then you might ask, but how do you reach this first person in this company? Yeah. And there it's a combination of, first of all, these product and tech communities that we're tapping into. It's some of these, or it's actually us, the community itself is a core aspect of it, where we also generate much more content. We want to position ourselves as a thought leader in this mindful productivity aspect, that people come to us when they want to learn about how to work in a better way, less distracted and more focused. And then again, we're thinking about many niche channels that are probably not so typical. We don't want to and actually can't compete for high customer acquisition costs in the traditional channels for these keywords. That's why we are thinking about ways. For example, I'm always surprised to see how many people there are on Twitch streaming their focus times, right? When they focus, when they're taking a break, and there are tens of thousands of people watching that. So those are some of these more niche channels that we are looking into. And another idea I can mention is, I told you the Slack integration, so we could be part of the Slack marketplace again as well. Same for all other integrations that we are doing. So really thinking about what are free or no to very minimum cost channels that we can tap into.
That's amazing. I think it's a great strategy, because at first, when you are very small and maybe you're a little tight on budget, especially on marketing budget, and I think every early stage startup is, you have to be scrappy and just make sure that you find absolutely every way out there to showcase the product, but at the same time not spend the money, so show the value to the people that are showcasing you or talking about you or offering you to their communities, but for free. So that's great, and good luck with that. But I also remember that you've raised a round from angel investors. So how was that, and what was the purpose of that?
Yeah, that's correct. That took place more or less a year ago. And for us, it was always very important that we find angel investors who share our product mindset and our tech mindset, who believe in this way of building products as well, in this very user-centric, community-driven approach. And I have to say that's not at all the majority in Berlin or Germany, where we are based at the moment. And that's why we were so glad that we found some angel investors that are also convinced of our approach and who also believe in this big vision that we have, right? That we can build what we call the meta layer, which will become this one central hub for work for every user, and that we can change the notion of what productivity means. And yeah, so that's cool to have these people supporting us. But once you raised money once, then then there will be a next round of raising, and that's actually something we're currently started to do. And there we are looking more and more also into the US market, because we feel that the way how we're building the product resonates much more with the market over there. And all of our product-led growth role models, the Slacks and Notions and Figmas of this world, they all come from there. So they understand or believe in this approach much more than here.
Okay, why did you choose going after investment in the first place, if I may ask? Why not bootstrapping? Why not ask? People love the product. I love the product. Why not ask for some kind of payment subscription from the day one?
Yeah. Very good question. Thanks for asking that, first of all. So we could ask you to pay for it. And I also know that there will be significant amount who are already willing to pay for it. Actually, some people have asked us why we don't do that already. Some users have asked us. Though the way how we're building the product, and it's 700 users at the moment, if they would pay a certain amount, that wouldn't be enough revenue for a bootstrapped model. So we would have to change the approach or the way how we're building the product. We decided to go the fundraising, the VC route, because we believe that way we can reach many more people. We really want to build software that can touch so many people. We want to build also a company and a company cultures where a lot of people can be how they want to be their authentic selves at work. It's always important for me to say the reason why I went the entrepreneurship way is, on the one hand, to build a product, but also to build a company culture, maybe the culture I've always been looking for. And I think even though right now times are not as they were a year or two ago, and it's much more difficult to raise money, there is still money in the market. And that's something that Miri, my co-founder, and myself, we talked about a lot. And we said, if we don't try to take this money, someone else will. And if we are getting it, we can at least make sure that we're building a good company and a good product out of it that can touch so many more people. And that's the reason why we are at least trying to go that way.
Okay, all right. Well, all the best with it. I mean, there is nothing wrong with taking the VC's money. I'm just asking because it is a product that I think people would buy. I'm just interested in why you're taking this other approach so early. So yeah, you mentioned culture. So what culture are you trying to build? What is your dream culture for Beams?
I think a lot of the things we talked about is part of our culture, right? It's really a product-driven, user-driven culture. So we make sure that everyone who works with us talks to users regularly, understands how they use the product, and makes decisions based on that. And when it comes to much more internal culture, we want to provide a lot of flexibility, right? No one has to work in the same office like we do, though there are like 2 days a week where we encourage people to come, but we also have colleagues that work completely remotely, and we want to accommodate that as well. And we really want to, encourage everyone in our team to be their authentic selves, right? It's something we truly believe in, and that means that some people work better in the morning, some people better in the evening, or even at night, and we think everyone should be able to do so. And that's something that we always wanted to enable people, that they can be as they are, that we are encouraging an open feedback culture. That's something that even Mihri, my co-founder, and myself, we started also with we won a coaching budget at a startup competition just when we started. So this idea of being coached, creating an open communication culture was there from the beginning, and that's something I can actually highly recommend also to any other co-founding team to have a coach that guides them, and we try to be this coach also for our team members.
Okay, that's wonderful. I think it's very aligned with how we're building Beams itself.
Very true.
So yeah, great to hear that. And just maybe a couple more questions. So I know it's very early, but still, what is so far the biggest win and the biggest failure for Beams? Or maybe just a challenge. Let's not talk about failures.
Yeah, the biggest win, I mean, every good user feedback is a great win for us. And the biggest milestone maybe was actually this product hunt launch in December, where it was so nice to see how, all of our community, our users and people supporting us, engaged, supported us, left great comments. And it was so nice to see that we have this backing from our users and everyone around us. That was a great win, I would say, for everyone in the team. And when it comes to challenges, I'm struggling to find one moment, but it is definitely a challenging time at the moment. We early last year, or more or less a year ago, when we realized the economy is going down, we also took decisions for us and said, okay, that means that we probably need to spend less money on everything than we planned to, really cut resources or cut costs on on anything that we were spending, actually. So that was a challenge. We're really cost efficient and cost effective. And that's not always easy to do. Everyone goes the extra mile, tries to save money wherever they can. That's a challenge, I would say. Yeah, and I mean, other challenges are, when people actually stop using our product, right? And then we try to understand, why is that? Is this maybe someone who doesn't fit in the target group we are solving this for? Though it's not easy to get an answer from people that stop using it. So that's a challenge that I can mention as well. But there's really not this one moment that I can name.
That's great. Well, I think an entrepreneurial road is very difficult by default. So finding it challenging is just very normal. And the fact that you don't have this huge failure moment is good. I think it's a good sign. Okay, so just one more question, bonus question. And I'm glad that you mentioned coaches and the companies that inspire you. So I want to ask you about the person that inspires you the most and that you maybe want to work with in the future.
I'm inspired by so many female founders out there. I always struggle a bit with this, who's the most or the one thing with these questions. We are more and more, as I said, also looking into the US market. And I mean, if there is, a person from these three companies that I just mentioned, that will be, that's people we look up to, and that would be wonderful to learn from them. But in general, it's people who are aiming high, who are very ambitious in what they're doing, but who stay true to themselves, who stay authentic, who stay also warm-hearted. I really believe in connection, and people who is also one of our values within the team, being connected to each other. So yeah, I mean, I like people who have this balance between big ambitions while also staying on the ground and there with the team, being nice people, compassionate people. I think that's a combination I look up to.
Okay, that's wonderful. I think again, everything you say just grows grows this perception that this is something very you. So it's your vision of product, it's your vision of the team and the culture that you're building, and that's amazing. Well, thank you, Jana, so much. It's been great talking with you. Thank you for building such an amazing product, and thank you for sharing your story.
Thanks so much to you, Anna. I'm really happy about the last words that you were saying, that you recognize and feel that, the way how we are, what we believe in, how we built our company also resonates or is reflected in the product. I'm really happy that you see that. And thanks for your time for this wonderful interview. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome, me too. Well, thank you, and take care.
Talk to you soon. Bye.